Hello there, I'm Eric Renault and this is a video for tipsquirrel.com. It's a free website for all things Adobe. In this video we're going to take a look at Essential Graphics. Now I've already seen an example of that. That's what came up at the bottom of the screen with my name on it. But we're going to look at some of the examples that ship with the Creative Cloud and create a couple of our own. Okay, let's jump in and see what's what. So here I am in Premiere, and this is a great place to have Essential Graphics because it's somewhere where you put graphics on a lot. So if I go over to the graphics workspace here, we can see down the right hand side that we have a lot of templates, and these ship with the Creative Cloud. So if I click and drag that into there, there's a nice simple one. I can pop that down, it adds it in. Now if I click on that, I can then go onto the edit tab here, and you can see I can edit the title, and I can also change all the sorts of things about that title, whether it be the font or the positioning, all that kind of stuff. All of that is available to me in here. I can also change the intro duration and the outro duration. So I can scrubby slide that just to add a few frames in there, and there we are. Okay. So now it'll come in, it will fade out, and off we go. In he comes, title, and off he goes. Easy. I can change that. Let's add that to something, hello world, and off he goes. We can change that as often as we like I say, putting it in any position we want to. We can change that. There we go. It's really easy, really easy. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that, and I want to create one of my own. Now in this particular instance I'm using Premiere, and I've got a dissolve here, and to put on the default dissolve or the default transition, what I need to do is press Control or Command D. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make it so as I can add in my keyboard shortcuts. So first of all, what I did was I went over to Photoshop, and this is a little bit of out the way, to be honest with you, because I could do this in After Effects. In fact, some may argue that I should. However, I like Photoshop, I like working in Photoshop, so this is always my first port of call. What I've done here is I've created a whole load of layers. So I've got my rectangle, the word Mac, the word PC, the squirrel itself, and then finally I've pressed Control, Command, Alt and E, and I've stamped them all onto one layer. That's all that is. Everything that I need that isn't going to change. That's what I've designed here. Now also what I've done is I've designed this on the size of screen that I know that I want to use. So in this case it's a 1920 by 1080p screen. So I know that that's where that graphic is going to appear. Don't have to do it like that, but that's the way that I've chosen to do it. Okay, let's head over to After Effects next. So here in After Effects, you can see that I've brought the graphic in. Now this is really easy. All I've got to do is either double click here and browse to it, or I can just drag and drop it from the Windows browser. I'm going to open it from the Windows browser. Okay, there's my shortcuts. So there's my shortcuts, 1080, and I can just drag that onto here. Now when I do that, I get given a choice because this is a Photoshop document. First of all, footage, so I can merge all the layers, or I can choose a layer if I wish. And I can also choose that I can go to layer 1 or layer 2, whatever it may be, or my full graphic. And then I can choose the footage dimensions to be either the document size or the layer size. Now the layer size would just bring in the size of the graphic, whereas the document size brings it all in, and then we can get it exactly into place. We can then bring in the composition, editable layer styles or merge layer styles, and we can also bring in composition with retain layer sizes, and that's actually what I've done for this particular one. You can see it's just here. So I've got my Photoshop document in here as a composition. That's easy enough. And if I press U on the keyboard here, you can see that I've got a couple of keyframes just to go from the opacity of 0 to 100%, and then from 100% to 0. So that's going to fade in and fade out. Then I've added two more layers of Command 8 and Control 8. And these are placeholder text. So this is the bit that's going to change every time I use it. So to add this into my Essential Graphics, I come up to Essential Graphics. If you can't see it up here, if you click on these double arrows, you may find it down here. And what I've done is I've edited workspaces and just dragged that up, just so as we can see it at the top of the screen here. So into Essential Graphics, and we get this block here. And I'm going to select the composition, which is called 1081. So let's get 1081. There it is. I'm going to call it shortcuts, which I've already done here. And then what I want to do is I want to find out all the things that I can set up to change. So we saw in our earlier example that we could change the font type and the size and the position and all that kind of stuff. That's a bit of overkill for this particular instance, but let's have a look. So let's have a solo supported properties, and we can see that all these elements of the text can be added to Essential Graphics. Actually, the only thing that I want to do here is to have the source text. So I'm going to bring the source text up here and drag it and drop it. And there's my Control 8 as my source text. If I scooch down a little bit, you'll see that I've got the source text for my Command 8, and I can drop that in too. Coming down into my graphic here, you can see that I've got a load of bits and bobs that I want to do there, but I don't need to do any of them, so I can close that up. Okay, easy as this. Now up here, I can pop in something else. So I could put PC shortcut or something like that, but Control 8 will do me nicely. Now I should also state that this particular text is set to center alignment. So it's always, the center is always going to be in the same place. So if it's a bigger one, it'll just fill out the box. So I made sure that I've put it right in the center of the gray box there. I can see that Mac comes before PC here, so I'm going to change the position of those. There we go. So now I'm going to do the Mac one first and then the PC one. And that's all there is to it, really. Okay, I'm going to find a nice place along the timeline here where everything's showing up, and then set the poster frame. There we go. Just so when we go into Premiere, we know which one we're looking at. That's all there is to it. So let's export that. It's going to say that I need to save it. That's fine. Let's save that. And then it's going to ask me where I want to save it to as far as the Creative Cloud is concerned and my libraries. Well, my libraries here, I'm going to save it into the TipScroll library. And then I've got a couple of warnings here. Warn me if this motion graphics template uses fonts that are not available on Typekit, and warn me if After Effects is needed in order to customize this motion graphics template. For both of those, I'm going to leave them both on and use it as standard, and then click OK. All right, there we go. Off it goes. And we can see that it's appeared here in shortcuts. So if I go back to Premiere now, and I go to Browse, and I go to My Libraries, I can check all my libraries if I want to, or I can just open a particular one. In this case, all is fine because I've only got the 2 at the moment. So I'm going to click and drag that down and pop it in there, and then in comes our graphic. Now in this particular instance, I've made this 1080p because that's what I'm going to use most of all, but actually this is a much bigger piece of footage. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to say scale to frame size just so it goes where I want it to. There we are. Okay, let's drag that up a little bit. There we go. And then with that selected, over to edit, where it's Command plus D, and then Control plus D. And that's it, it's done. It fades in, and then it fades out again. There we are, that's done. And I can add as many of those as I like to my footage. There we go, fades in, and fades out. There we are. All right, let's look at one more example. So let's say on this bit of footage, I want to say where they were shot. So I'm going to go over to After Effects and I'm going to open a recent composition. So this time you can see that I've got my location here. Let's fit that. Scale to fit, there we go. In the top left hand corner. And all I've done here is put in the source text, which is location, just as I did before. From here, source text. But then what I wanted to do was I wanted this box to be able to be bigger or smaller depending on where the location is. So that particular bit of footage was Scarborough, so quite a long piece, but I might have also filmed somewhere in Diss, maybe, which is a very small one. So I want to change that. So what I've gone and done is gone in the shape layer, and I've gone to scale, and I've taken away this link because I only want it to scale one way, which is crossways, horizontally. So to do that as well, what I've had to do is change where the anchor point is, because the anchor point would sit right in the middle of the screen, and I don't want that to happen. It would then scroll out from there and actually would expand in both directions. So by taking the anchor tool, I could then move the anchor to where I needed it to be. So right now, if I get the Z key and just zoom in a bit, you'll be able to see that I've moved it to there. Just there. So that's where it's going to anchor to, that's where it's going to expand to. So the source text and the scale is in there. I've named it. I've also used it from this composition, location, and I can say export. Where do you want to save it? To TipSquirrel. There we go. Let's go over to Premiere, and you're seeing this in the same time frame as me. There we go. Already there. I can now drag and drop that in. Again, this was made for 1080p, so I'm going to scale that up. And I can come into edit, and I can say this one was in Scarborough. There we go. And then press tab, and there we go, Scarborough. And I can make this bigger or smaller depending on where I want it to be. There we are. And now, just as before, I just used some opacity in and outs. There it is, in. Get the other one up, and then it goes back out again. There we are. As easy as that. So that, my friends, is Essential Graphics. Don't forget to play around with the templates that ship with Creative Cloud, because there are some absolute beauties in there, I've got to admit, and just playing with those will really highlight what you can do with Essential Graphics. Then, if they're not funky enough for you, head over to Adobe Stock, because there are some extraordinary ones in there, some real beauties. All right, there we go. Makes my location seem a little bit dull, doesn't it? But anyway, that's Essential Graphics. I'm Eric Reno. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell so you know there's something else new, and I'll see you at TipSquirrel next time. Bye-bye for now.